Gentlemen, Antonio here. Let's talk about watches. In particular today, I'm going to talk about 5 styles that I think every man needs to know. Now, in this video, I'm going to go over the styles pretty darn quick. And many of you guys are saying, Antonio, there is so much more. And you're exactly right. That's why I created this free ebook, over 70 pages of solid information. I'm going to go over the 5 styles. I'm going to point out multiple brands, from historical brands to brands that are going to be more modern. I'm also going to, in this free ebook, talk about how to buy watches, how to buy the right size proportions. Yes, there is such a thing. Guys, I go into tons of information. That ebook's probably going to be the last one that you will ever need, and you can go out there and make a smart purchasing decision. Now, with each of these styles, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with them. I'm going to take and put out one word that to me describes the watch and the attitude it has. I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. What is your favorite style? Do you agree with the words that I chose and the attitude I feel with the watch? Anything you guys want to add in the comments, I would love to hear. So without further ado, let's get into this. The first watch style I want to discuss is the dress watch. So when I think of the one word that describes the dress watch, it's elegance. With elegance, I think of simplicity. Let's go to menswear. When you talk about simplicity in menswear, we're talking about black tie, the highest form of menswear. So the same thing falls true with watches that are going to be dress watches. We're going to find that the face, actually the numbers, sometimes they don't even use numbers. They just use just little lines right there. Or we'll see Roman numerals on here. When I look, we're also not going to have a lot of complications on the face of the watch. Now, when I look at the case, it's going to probably be the thinner cases. That way it fits in right underneath the dress shirt. The band is oftentimes going to be made from leather, and a dark leather at that. Lighter leathers are going to be more casual. So if you do get a dress watch, you want to make sure you probably get an interchangeable band with it. In addition, dress watches oftentimes use precious stones. You'll see them made from gold, from silver, or from other precious metals, and they will have diamonds or other stones, strategically put. Again, simplicity is going to be the key, and to me, the word elegance is what describes the dress watch. Next, let's talk about the field watch, and the word that describes the field watch for me is rugged. The field watch comes out of World War I, and what we saw are military officers had to figure out how to work with the artillery when they were in the infantry to basically be able to time when they were going to be trying, we're talking trench warfare here. What they would do is they would get together, and this is another key characteristic of a field watch, is it's actually got a hacking second hand. So what's a hacking second hand? A hacking second hand is actually where you can set it, you can hold it, and so you can have a group of people, we could all set the exact time. Another thing we're going to notice about the field watch is the high contrast on the face. So the face of the watch is oftentimes going to be larger than any of the other styles out there, although modern day and more classic ones are going to be in and about 45 or 43 or 42. But we would see the older ones as much as 55 across. The reason being, I needed to be able to look at this and immediately tell, what time it was. The other thing is the strap. Oftentimes we would see nylon and other materials. It was something that you could easily replace. Next, let's talk about the Aviator watch. So the one word that comes to my mind when I think Aviator watches is adventure. Guys, so the first Aviator watches were nothing more than field watches that were taken and worn by aviators. But over the decades, the needs of aviators changed, and so they required more of their watches. So these are just going to be a few key characteristics that you're going to see in Aviator watches. First off, they're usually going to have a black face with white numbers. Next, we're going to see pushers on the side of the case. This is going to allow us to start and stop various stopwatches and chronographs. So we're going to oftentimes see multiple chronographs in on the face as well. Now the time zone bezel. If you see one of these, most likely it's an Aviator watch. And finally, the one key characteristic, it's not going to be on all Aviator watches, but if you see a circular slide rule, also known as a whiz wheel, you can pretty much be guaranteed this is an Aviator watches. Now, anyone that's a pilot, anyone that understands and knows what those are, I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments. And if you don't know, go check out the free ebook. Guys, I go into it and I talk about whiz wheels and how they're used and why they're important for Aviator watches. The next style of watch I want to talk about is the dive watch. And when I think about dive watches, I think about adventure. I think about a watch that has to stand up to the high pressure of being deep underwater and it being dark, of being a guy being down there with a limited amount of oxygen. You need a watch that is going to be something that you can depend on and is not going to let you down. So dive watches were made to be able to withstand high pressure. So that's why we're often going to see a sapphire glass. In addition, on a dive watch, it has to be, of course, waterproof, up to 100, at least to 100 meters. There are going to be other dive watches out there that are going to be, they can go a lot deeper than that. In addition, dive watches are going to have a band that's going to be using a rubber or a silicone, and it's usually going to have a bit more room. That way it can fit over a wetsuit. Finally, two other characteristics we're going to see in dive watches. One of them, we're going to see actually a counterclock bezel. So this is a bezel that only rotates in one direction. The reason being, this is going to allow you to know how long you have been under the water, and if you inadvertently hit it, it's not going to actually, the only way it would ever show you if you actually turned it is that you have been under longer than you have. Therefore, because what you don't want to have is actually it show that you've been under less and you think you have more oxygen than you do. So a very smart invention and something that clearly gives away a dive watch. In addition, dive watches are going to have tritium illumination. And basically this has an isotope that makes it so it glows a bit. And we're talking, I think it's like 15 years that these can last. A lot of other watches, especially lower end ones, you're going to have to expose to high sunlight so that they can basically glow under dark. But one that has tritium in it is actually going to be able to glow for, the next decade and a half. Final watch style I'm going to talk about is the racing watch. And the one word that comes to mind when I think of racing watches is the word maverick. Basically a man pushing the envelope, but doing it on his own terms. So what's cool about racing watches is they don't have a military heritage. Why is this cool? Because they're not going to be constrained by everything else we saw in the other watches when they were trying to get government contracts. So of the other watches, the colors that they use and the designs, they're really utilitarian, very simple. Racing watches, they're going to have a lot more fun. We're going to see them in brighter colors. We're going to see bright blues. We're going to see reds. We're going to see oranges. In addition, sometimes precious stones. At the same time, very functional. So there are two other key characteristics besides the flash that we're going to see in a racing watch. One of them is a chronograph. So I've talked about this before, but it's basically a small stopwatch that's going to be on the face of the watch. In addition, we're also going to see a tachymeter. Tachymeters enable you to figure out distance and speed based off of information you can take here with time. So if you're going to be out there racing and you know how long you've been going, you'll be able to, okay, so I've been going at this speed for this long, I can very quickly figure out what the distance is. All right, guys, that is it for the 5 styles I think every man needs to know when it comes to watches. Guys, don't forget, I've got this free ebook, over 70 pages, solid information. It's right there for you. Go grab it and let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.